We're live.
What's up, everyone? It's me, Maiev, Panda, I have Disco and Eki here, and we have a cat on our show. They would be talking about news and crypto, would be playing Evolution, and of course, our cat would be providing updates on what we're doing with Rune.
Alright, what's up, guys? Yeah, we have a cat now. Can you guys hear me? Man, I always am scared because I don't hear myself whenever I change the scene. It looks like everything is good. Unless somebody tells me otherwise, I'm going to assume that we're okay. But yeah, big week in terms of news. Maybe not necessarily the best news, the most positive news, but definitely eventful. And luckily, we have Discomonk here to walk us through all of it. How are you guys all doing this week?
Very
Well,
bad.
I'm surprised everyone's kind of out their bunkers for the stream tonight, considering the events of the week. But yeah, good to see everyone's still surviving so far. I'm not sure about by the end of the next week. We'll see.
So it sounds like you're even more of a bear than you were before, Disco Bear.
Right.
I am, I guess, temporarily. Things might actually be favourable in the short term, price-wise. People
Really?
looking for safe havens for money. But yeah, talk a bit more about that shortly.
Do you recall what Disco predicted? Didn't we say like it would go from 25 then 20 and then would go up?
Yeah, so we did have our predictions, and I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe everybody here said that we were gonna go down to 20k before we hit 30k, except me. I was the only one that said that we were going to 30k, so I guess I was the one that was wrong, unfortunately. We did actually, I think very briefly, we did dip below 20k. Now we did bounce a little bit back up to like the 21k on Bitcoin. So you know, now we're gonna hit 30k, obviously, just to
Binzy's
just to spite
prediction
me.
is still 2K. Imagine if we get 2K.
2k then 200k. I mean, honestly, I could see that happening. I feel like I think I talked about it on the stream a while ago, but there was somebody that I like followed on Twitter who did predict that Bitcoin is gonna die before resurging, and right before the stream, I actually did see a post on Reddit that said something about how like last time, Bitcoin dropped like 50% in like a day or something, and then it went to the highest it's ever been. So sometimes that's what you need, right? Sometimes we need a big crash to give us some momentum.
Indeed.
Like a big shake off.
Okay, well, let's get started on the crypto news, Disco. I know we got a lot to cover, so go ahead.
So indeed, this week's crypto news was largely triggered outside of crypto, and happened due to Silicon Valley Bank becoming insolvent. This was caused by lots of founders moving their money out of there recently, looking for better yield, better interest on their savings. And then was quite rapidly accelerated by Peter Thiel stating publicly that he'd moved all of his money out of the bank and advised every single founder to do the same and told them to do it as quickly as possible, thereby causing certainly a bank run seemingly on Silicon Valley Bank, with depositors looking to withdraw their funds out. As a result of that, trading's been stopped. The government stepped in, the regulators. They're looking to assure deposits for customers. There's usually a $250,000 limit per depositor, which meant that actually about 97% and just over of deposits at Silicon Valley Bank were not covered by the scheme. The government's now said that they will cover all depositor funds. Actually, only in the last 20 minutes, as we were kind of preparing for the stream, Silvergate Bank has also been taken over by the government and has stopped trading. Quite remarkable. I guess we did kind of mention last week that they did look vulnerable with the fall of Signet and the shutting down of that. The reason all of this has had a huge knock-on effect on crypto is because Circle, the issuer of USDC, were known to hold some of their cash reserves for USDC that backed the coin at Silicon Valley Bank. And in the uncertainty of not knowing how much money of those backing and those reserves was being held at Silicon Valley and how much Coinbase had managed to pull out, if any, they did request a withdrawal, which takes a few days to complete. So they're expecting that to go through on Monday. But again, we've got that uncertainty. This is Monday in America. I don't know what time clearing happens over there. So yeah, we're kind of all waiting to see, do those withdrawals get processed? The government's certainly assuring that, but we shall wait and find out. In the meantime, that meant that people were wanting to... sorry, just getting distracted by some spam in the chat. We'll go and clear that off if someone's able to click that one. And so what happened is there was uncertainty around some of the backing for USDC reserves going missing. This resulted in people getting out of USDC as quickly as possible. So essentially a bank run on the stable coin. That meant that on various money markets, AMMs and exchanges, USDC actually dipped right down to around about 88 cents on the dollar. Has since recovered somewhat, but not quite on peg. Subsequently, the fear and panic around, if USDC fails, where do people park their money? And incidentally, and I personally found this somewhat hilarious despite all the chaos and magnitude of the situation, despite everybody's fears about BUSD, due to their inability to mint anymore, but still, of course, holding and recognizing redemptions all the way until April next year. We did say previously, a few weeks back, and every time people have asked, are you looking to move out of BUSD as a result of this? We did always say we weren't confident actually that any stablecoin was safe in this environment, and therefore the best thing to do would be to actually stay with BUSD liquidity and not make any changes and wait for the rest of the contagion to play out. BUSD being one of the few stablecoins that actually did hold peg during this, and at times was trading not quite at $2, but 1 or 2 cents over the dollar. So there's a real premium and demand for that. USDT, the other, so Tether, the other stablecoin in big demand. Again, the two that I suppose had certainly Tether for many years now, the biggest noise around the uncertainty of are they even backed and how valid are the tokens. They became the safe havens during all of this. So that was certainly quite interesting to see. I think True USD, TUSD was the other one that just about managed to retain peg. But every other stablecoin that I saw did drop below. So there was real big panic across the markets. And I think, again, we haven't really seen all of this play out. Is still happening live. I mentioned, Silvergate Bank only just gone under in the last half an hour or so. And most likely we're going to see other smaller banks across the US go under as a result of this. The ability for customers to now operate their bank accounts digitally, sign up for new bank accounts, move money around at any time of day. That's just a feature that the banking system and the way it's been set up in terms of regulations, in terms of liquidity thresholds and requirements, was set up in a world where customers could only access their funds Monday to Friday between 9 to 5. not 3 in the morning when they hear that some banks are going under, and actually it's time to look at what is safe and where's that going to go to. So I suspect we're going to see, and especially as the news filters out over the weekend and we go into next week, lots of people moving their money around, lots of banks finding liquidity a challenge. Now, one of the questions I guess on everyone's lips is why exactly did a bank like Silicon Valley Bank, who have grown substantially, been around for 40 years, managing deposits of around $170 billion, why did they have a liquidity crisis? Well, there was a couple of reasons for it. One was, there was substantial amounts of withdrawals in recent months. That wouldn't normally be a problem because banks can then they always keep some cash for those kind of withdrawals. The withdrawal amounts being processed and requested were kind of exceeding those liquidity amounts that they had available to process immediately, which then meant that they had to sell some assets in order to fund those withdrawals. Now, in a traditional banking system, when you go and make a deposit, your bank pays you some interest. The reason it's able to do that is because it's investing that money elsewhere, making more money on that, getting a higher return, and then paying you the interest and pocket keeping the rest. And that funds their operations and pays for branches, whatever else they do. The challenge and the reason this situation has come about is because a few years ago, during COVID and all that time, the Federal Reserve had very low interest rates, near zero, printing money left, right, and centre. And therefore, due to the low interest rates, what banks tend to do, or just in any environment, is they'll keep some money in treasury bonds, which are redeemable for cash. You're essentially loaning money to the government or to the Federal Reserve, and then you get some interest on top of that. And that's kind of how the economy and inflation works. So what happened there is when the banks are paying 0% interest and they're able to buy these 10-year treasury bills for about 1.5%, this was a really good investment. They're making lots of money, better than they can get elsewhere. So from a bank's perspective, this was quite appealing. The issue is that Silicon Valley Bank bought around $80 billion worth of these 10-year treasury bonds. So they mature in 10 years' time. That means in 10 years, you are able to collect what you paid for them. And during that period of time, you'll have been earning the interest and collecting that all along. Now, when the central bank put their interest rates up, as they've been doing to try and combat inflation, is their aim, what has happened is those treasury bonds that you can now buy pay a much, much higher interest rate than what all the banks are holding on to, which are around 1%, 1.5%, maybe 2%. Now, all of a sudden, you can go and buy those same treasury bills and earn 6, 7, 8% yield on them, which is, a remarkable difference. And what that means is that for these bonds that they're holding, they're now worth less than what the bank paid for them. So in order to sell them, they took quite a significant loss, around $1.8 billion. Now, the communications from the bank, knowing that there's a massive withdrawals coming out, to then publicly state that they're selling these assets in order to cover that withdrawal shortfall, that then further caused panic and alarm, because it clearly showed that actually they don't have the money. They then looked to issue some stock, which would have diluted or the value of the existing shares for shareholders. So that caused shareholders to panic. And all of this kind of spiraled into this big momentum. Why have we seen Bitcoin rise slightly at the end of all of this? Well, I think one of the reasons is people are looking to trade out of those stable coins. There is still that uncertainty. We don't know exactly, again, how much Circle are going to get, if any other stable coin reserves are affected, if any other crypto companies, exchanges, depositor funds potentially, that people are holding on exchanges. The damage is just unknown at the moment. And this also applies with Silvergate, and I think that's going to be even more substantial. So I'm sure over the next day or two, there's really going to be a big impact to the crypto world as a result of that. But the reason Bitcoin has been going up, I think, is people are looking for safe havens for money. Now, typically, stablecoin is the safe haven, and the reason people hold it is because you can deploy capital quite easily. The other reason you hold a stable coin is because you know that you can always convert that to a dollar. If you fear that your stable coin can't be converted to a dollar, or you fear that you'll convert to a dollar and then actually it's going to deteriorate anyway because there's a huge banking crash going on, then where else do you park your money? Gold, silver, hard assets. Or if you've already got that funds on the blockchain, chances are it's going to move to Bitcoin, possibly F, and maybe some of these other tokens that people feel will be around for a long time. So I suspect that's why we're seeing some recovery there. Maybe it's temporary. Once there is some confidence or they know that USDC can be redeemed, maybe we'll see those funds go back into those coins, and we'll see the market drop. And I'm not too sure how that's going to play out. Quite possible we could also just see everything drop further if withdrawals are allowed, because everybody will look to sell out. So yeah, we'll have to kind of wait and see there. BTCF, yeah, absolutely. If you think banks are going to fail, Bitcoin was invented for that reason, wasn't it? So that's where people feel comfortable doing it, and it's easy when all your funds are on chain anyway. Much easier than actually trying to buy physical gold or silver or any other assets you might want to hold in typically economic hard times. So yeah, definitely lots of contagion. I think this is going to spread much wider. There's going to be a lot of impact. The biggest concern from a wider economic perspective isn't so much the fear of a huge banking crisis like we had back in 2008 with the Lehman Brothers, because that was actually more of a systemic risk in terms of all of the assets that banks were holding as collateral. What this challenge is just a liquidity crisis, typical old-fashioned bank run. Sorry, we've lent out all your money, that's why we can't give it back to you right now. The problem is that this is going to happen quite rapidly because of the people's ability to move funds around, and because of higher interest rates. There's now banks offering higher interest rates. People are going to be looking for safer banks as well, so moving money out of those smaller ones, and that's where I think there's going to be economic damage potentially to some communities, some areas across the country. The other big issue, and what the government sounds like they're looking to prevent and looking to address with intervention, is payroll, because you've got to bear in mind that all these companies that hold the money at these banks use that money to pay employees, cover salaries, pay expenses, pay other businesses their expenses for materials, goods, labor, whatever that might be. So it's not just these big companies, they've got all their money in the bank that they're earning interest on. There is actually going to be some real world impact to smaller communities potentially, and that's where the knock-on effect could be large. We're talking potentially tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, some of the size of the companies there. So if those people can't make their rent, pay their bills, meet their mortgage payments, pay their debts, whatever that might be, buy food, and there's a huge knock-on effect to all those other industries that aren't receiving those payments as well. So the US government seems keen to step in. Let's see what happens. We're seeing some impact outside of the US. Silicon Valley did have some branches elsewhere. The UK bank, I've seen that London Bank is looking to step in. Not too much of a systemic issue there. They were relatively small over our way. But again, there's always that interconnectedness. And the other challenge is that if people generally see this as an issue that other banks, or they suspect other banks could be facing, because let's be honest, most bankers 2 years ago would have looked at those treasury bills and been in the same position and said, that's a very appealing bet. How much of their capital did they allocate toward those bets, with assurances from the Federal Reserve mind at the time stating that they weren't going to raise interest rates, that inflation was only passing, and therefore they wouldn't need to do anything drastic. So given that assurance from the government, again, these long-term treasury bills did look very appealing. So the Fed has somewhat potentially inflamed or even caused the situation itself. But it comes down to capital risk management. So again, if people are concerned, they could be moving. That could be happening globally for all we know. Let's see what happens in a week's time. It's going to be a wild ride, I think.
Okay, so I think, I guess there are definitely differences, but it almost feels like it's kind of similar to FTX's collapse. No, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I guess the difference here is that I guess Silicon Valley Bank is an actual bank, and I guess the exchange was not really a bank. And I think banks are legally allowed to do things with the money they don't actually have to keep all of the money that people deposit on them. Like I think they're actually allowed to go and invest the money or go do other things with the money and loan it out, right, to get more interest.
Yeah, there's two types of banks. Ones which are they all have liquidity thresholds, so they have to have, or capital reserve thresholds, so they have to have. I don't know what the limits are over in America. Actually, in the UK, I think it's only around 5% or something, because we only have 4 major banks and they're all commercial and they're allowed to print. I think the American banking system is slightly different, but what that means is that they have to hold at least 5% of all the depositors' money readily available. And the rest of it they can then just print out on top of that. So they can essentially create 20 times as much money as they've got deposits. I think that those thresholds may have changed in recent years, but that's the gist of it. Whereas in commercial banks, what they do, they just have to keep at least that amount readily available. And yes, they're allowed to then go and reinvest that money. FTX was slightly different because they weren't, I mean, they were making some investments for Alameda, but all of that was just theft because there was no commercial agreement to allow that. And the loan conditions were immensely fraudulent as well. And Alameda never actually passed the money to FTX in the first place. So again, it was just pure theft and fraud. Whereas here, this is seemingly, bankers making fairly legitimate moves and quite typical trades and operating quite normally like a bank would, just over allocating to these long-term bets at a time when it seems sensible and no longer is, and that has cost them. And then the way they've managed that publicly has been horrendous as well. So that really just ruined the situation for them. I think Peter Thiel, he possibly, I've heard, was shorting Silicon Valley Bank as he's telling people to pull money out. So that's potentially something to look into as well, if there was some market manipulation there, especially if it then goes on to subsequently cause some sort of economic crash. I think it warrants review. But yeah, it's quite a crazy one. What was interesting as well, actually, between this saga and the previous, maybe just a strange connection, but the CFO at the Lehman Brothers up until 2007, so a year before the great banking crash, so it probably had an indication as to how things operated there, is actually working at Silicon Valley Bank, or was working there up until certainly the last couple of days when this crash happened as well. So definitely not the guy you want around when there's huge economic damage to be gained. Just you do have to laugh at the way the world works sometimes, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that so much of our financial institutions in reality are susceptible to some of the same panic and I guess crowd behavior that's brought down crypto institutions. Like, everybody's taking risks. Like, they have different levels of it, and they're making decisions which in the present feel sensible, and it can still happen to them. Like, we could see this continue to go on and affect larger players, I guess, depending on,
I think what
market manipulation.
In the crypto industry is it essentially just replicated the traditional finance industry, but without the regulations and protections for consumers. There is technologically certainly the ability for it to be open and public, and to an extent it is in terms of smart contracts and where applicable, immutability. Of course, in that's not the case, like with Jump Crypto managing to reverse a freezing of funds. They had that big hack and they've managed to reverse that through a DAO action. So that was something else actually that happened recently, which is worth highlighting. So again, you know, people talk about immutability of DeFi protocols and all the rest of it, and there we are, somebody just deciding actually we're just going to move this money from one person's account to another. I'm sure was kind of these purposes and some of the reasoning behind Bitcoin being created in the first place. So yeah, I mean, look, does this actually act as a catalyst for Bitcoin further? And especially with the recent activity of it being able to then also host NFTs on there, maybe, I don't know. But the failure points in all of this have been the relationships with traditional finance, i.e. the fiat currency system, and people, which are both the very things that crypto was designed to avoid. So I'm not surprised that we failed again. And this has come to that sort of conclusion, or not quite yet a conclusion. So I think, you know, all of this needs to get shaken out. I think people in the industry need to kind of have a look at themselves and think as to why they're here. You know, is it just to try and scam retail? Is it because they actually want to build something? Is it because they believe in the technology? Did they just jump on the bandwagon because it seemed like a good idea at the time? And I think hopefully the industry will climb out of this better, if not much smaller. We'll see. It does feel all, you know, the timing of it, I must say, is quite remarkable considering the advancement in CBDC trials, so central banking digital currencies, with nations actually successfully completing all these trials for digital currencies. And actually that would be the only way that you could guarantee true stability and backing of a stable coin, is if it was issued by the central bank itself. Because as we've seen in the case of USDC, even if these are issued by a bank or a banking entity and the funds are held in a bank, that bank itself might not be safe and might lose the money. So actually, what is the solution there? Unfortunately, CBDCs, unless we have, you know, stable coins that utilize decentralized currencies like Bitcoin and Ether in a basket or something like that in order to retain its collateral. It wouldn't be pegged to a dollar, but would be pegged to those stables, to those currencies, I guess, those cryptos. So that is an option. Won't happen while everything's still while denominated in dollar currencies, but of course that's that vision that people hope for. So yeah, I don't know, maybe it acts as a catalyst, maybe it's a reminder of why people hopefully came here in the first place, and we'll see how this takes everyone forward.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask, in case any of you guys were knowledgeable about this, but like theoretically, if banks only have to keep 5% of the money that's deposited, like wouldn't it be very easy to trigger a bank run? And I'm sure they know that it could happen, right? I think you mentioned, you know, with the way that everything's structured and you can get your money like online and everything at 3 a.m. I'm sure that people have thought of that. And I'm guessing there's probably like, you know, measures put in place to make sure that it doesn't have a significant like impact, like it's not going to crash the world. Right? Like, does it really matter that there was a bank run on Silicon Valley Bank, or is it just something that's like very temporary and then it'll all sort itself out in a week or so?
It might take longer than a week, maybe a month or two. It probably will sort itself out, because it's not, the reason was just bad trades, they lost money, nothing nefarious, nothing systemic, unless it turns out that other banks have also done the same and just over allocated to these long-term treasury bills. But it's not like the 2008 banking crisis where actually there was a systemic risk. This will be impactful. It is going to hurt people involved and the people on payrolls of the companies involved, potentially, depending on how the government reacts and what happens. But it's not going to impact the entire economy in the same way that some of the other big crashes have happened in the past. Shouldn't do anyway. There's no real just like reasoning for it. How do banks get away with it? With the capital reserves, and again, it depends on the type of bank. They are allowed to print money as well. So when they say 5%, some of it they're actually allowed to create as well. So when a bank lends you money, it doesn't actually give you the money; it just makes up the money.
Nice.
And just types it into your account and adds it, like cheat mode, God mode. And then you have to pay that back and some interest. And then that goes back into the system. And that's part of how inflation works and stuff. So by you putting in $100, that means the bank can lend out $1,000, because if it's, say it had a 10% capital reserve, or we're talking 5%, you put in 100, bank can go and lend out $2,000. So then that way, it's only ever got the $100 in the bank, which is your deposit. It took that out and loaned it to someone as $2,000, and they're paying interest on that, and then eventually they'll deposit your $100 back in payments, and then that way you can withdraw it. So that's how they can have a 5% capital requirement, but still not have that much money on hand. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, now that you mention that, yeah, I do remember I did watch a YouTube video that was like, it was almost like they're just duplicating money, a money glitch, which I guess it kind of is. Okay, so
actually, speaking of that, one of the things that potentially might happen during all of this is, and I think has been proposed, and we'll have to see if the Fed confirm this, but there's talk of them allowing the bank to actually buy or sell back to the Fed these treasury bills at face value, which normally wouldn't happen. So essentially what that means, normally these things, the treasury bills, they mature in 10 years, that's it, you can't sell them back, you claim them at 10 years. So they trade hands, and if you made a bad investment, like in this case, you just sit on that loss and you accept that. However, in this situation, what the Fed is saying is, no, actually you can sell them back to us at face value, and therefore the however many billions of dollars you would have lost selling them at fair market value, you're not going to lose, because we're going to buy them back. So that sort of is kind of market manipulation to an extent, and we'll have to see if they allow them to do that, but I think that is what they're suggesting will happen. That actually could have a bigger impact on the wider economy than the actual damage that's been done elsewhere and the Fed's reaction, because if they're willing to do that, they're actually kind of devaluing their own currency, and willing to do that to kind of sort out economic messes, commercial free market economic messes. So that could put a really bad lens on the dollar. So I think the Fed have to move quite cautiously there. But yeah, I just thought it was worth mentioning after you brought that up.
all right, so I have actually had the charts open for the futures, and it's been pretty crazy, honestly. We did gap up, went right at open, and then we kind of died, and then we went up like another 1 to 2%, which is kind of insane. I usually do keep an eye on the markets on Sundays, and this seems very atypical for what's been going on. So I think, yeah, tomorrow is going to be a crazy day. I guess I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, because I'll be going to bed after the stream, which I think is, I don't know what sort of time it is out in the US over there. Is it the afternoon?
How would you feel if you woke up tomorrow morning?
You guys wake up later than me, actually. So yeah, I'll probably see the overnight trading and how the rest of the world reacts, and then see what happens when the American markets react. But I think, yeah, a lot of bank stocks will probably get sold. Oh, and the CEO of Silicon Valley Bank sold about $2.5-3 million worth of shares in the 2 weeks leading up to this, as did I think a few other of the executive team. So they obviously knew there was a shitstorm coming.
How would you feel if you woke up and Bitcoin is at like 5K or 50K?
Look, I've had that with shitcoins before.
Yeah, 5K would have been
5K,
Genius
what
for
a breather,
those.
yeah. Go
Generous.
down to $5 and maybe I would have been shed a slight tear.
0.05 of a dollar.
With 99% price impact trying to sell it.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else that we need to cover, Disco?
I hope not. No, I think that's probably it. Actually, no, it's not. On a slightly jollier side of things,
Woo.
there is something else to discuss. Some really big news, I think, anyway. And that's Epic Games actually releasing their self-publishing tool. So they are allowing self-publishing on the Epic Games Store. Why do I think this is big, and why is it related to crypto? Well, Epic have been the most Web3 friendly platform so far on the PC, allowing crypto support long before Steam and some of the others. Steam sort of allow it now if you don't mention crypto, and if you can get into the game without having to use the crypto element. They kind of allow that now. I've seen a few games pop up, but Epic are kind of really have no policy around that. So they now allow self-publishing, which I think is great, and hopefully we'll see that become the kind of new home of Web3 gaming, because I think that that'd be really great for the industry to have that exposure, have that access into an existing gaming community, one that perhaps fits the Web3 ethos a bit better than you might assume like Microsoft Store gamers or EA gamers would do. You know, depending on why they went to Epic, was it because of the policies and so forth? So did they agree with that? But either way, good to see a major player allowing self-publishing and supporting the industry. We'll have to see how many Web3 games get through. They do have a submissions process, but I think there's a really good opportunity, and certainly something that I believe we would like to pursue in the future as well. A few things I think need to get ready to do that, make the experience for non-gamers joining and coming in slightly smoother, with a transition to turning into a paying customer and converting them into crypto, even if it's only happening in the background, but just so we can retain the blockchain side for us and all our existing players to monitor and see what items are being created and so forth. So yeah, definitely, you know, as and when things get moving, we'll keep you updated if we do decide to move for that, but certainly something we're keeping an eye on and quite interested in. That I think is it for the news for now.
All
Unless
right.
another bank blows up before the end of the stream. It's quite
Oh
likely.
man,
the way
yeah,
things have been
honestly.
going.
Okay, well, I guess then let's go on to Binzy Cat for some updates regarding Rune, and then we'll go on to our Evo games as always.
You can hear me?
Yep,
Yeah.
We can.
loud and clear.
Okay, yeah. So, kind of following into what Disco was saying, over the last 2 years, we've done a lot of different features, different services, and what we've been working on is consolidating the data layer of the different things that we do into different services, and this will allow us to have a better understanding of where we are, where we're going, to have better integrity, so things that maybe like things like the reward service won't fail so often. Additionally, to be able to support things like non-crypto gamers, integration with Epic Launcher, and these kinds of things. So we're basically working on data layer architecture stuff right for the next couple months or so.
All right, cool. I gotta say, I'm very disappointed that your mouth does not move while you're talking.
I'm not sure which mouth
No,
I'm expecting
no.
to move. Is it the cats or the wolves?
We're also, of course, continue to work on the Sanctuary world, which Alex and me will probably do another level walkthrough next week.
Cool, cool. Something to look forward to next week. And hopefully we do have some good news next week as well. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's worth touching on. Loma did ask in the chat will we create a pool for RXS to replace BUSD? I think at the moment, and I touched on this at the beginning of the stream, because we were aware that we were going to have issues, we kind of anticipated this. We didn't move from BUSD initially, and that has proved out to be the right decision so far, at least. One of the only stable coins to actually not break peg during this whole calamity. So we're quite comfortable at the moment with our existing pools, with our existing pairings. We know that eventually we will have to break that pairing. The redemption period expires around sort of mid-April 2024, so we've got a year to make that decision, all things being equal. So it's not something we want to rush. We want to have a look at how this works. Does that then potentially, open up some opportunities to go cross-chain, as we've planned to at times? We'll have to see, because, again, do we want to see is Binance as a chain itself, what coins do they adapt? Are they going to stick around? I'm sure CZ, enjoys the money he gets from BNB chain, so isn't going to give that up so easily. But yeah, I don't think there's an immediate need to react. I think in the future, possibly even, and something we discussed in the past, and the cards are on the table still, is around, pairing some of the lower runes to RXS and having that as the main token of the ecosystem, and then having RXS as the only coin paired to something external. Could that be a stable coin? Could that even be something like ETH or Matic? Who knows? But I think we've got enough time to assess the market, make some firm decisions and more informed decisions before we just panic react. And we've had some great reminders of not panic reacting during these situations, unfortunately, whether that's through scammers who immediately with the USDC jumped on and said they were doing an airdrop for holders, and 2 people got scammed out of about 300 grand each through wallet drains by clicking links. We also saw a trader, unfortunately, whilst in the Curve 3 pool. So 3 pools work by providing 3 types of liquidity. This was a stablecoin 3 pool, so it was USDC, USDT, and DAI, I think. And due to the way that liquidity pools work and the impermanent loss, had they have pulled out their funds, they would have lost about 6% or so due to the imbalancing of the pools. They attempted to avoid that loss by actually buying USDT and spent around about $2 million to eventually buy 5 cents worth of USDT, possibly due to a slippage error or some sort of bug. But again, and I think within about an hour or two, USDC had climbed back up a bit and regained some of those losses. So just goes to show, there is no need to panic react. When you need to panic, do panic and panic sensibly. But at the moment, there's not the time for us to do so, I don't think. But we'll keep an eye on this. We've hopefully been keeping you up to date and helping you avoid all this disaster throughout for several months now, with any luck, right from the kind of Celsius events and so forth. So, we do try our best to keep you informed and safe to what we can. Don't just solely rely on us by all means. But yeah, the stuff interests me, and I'll let you know what I know.
And just to follow up on that, so just to be clear, right? Like anybody that's within Ruin, like it's an investment in Ruin, the ecosystem, the metaverse, the vision of the future. So like hypothetically, if the NB did fail, right, it would obviously be chaotic, but we would have to move to a different chain, which would involve replicating everything that we have on this chain, right? So obviously there would be like a redemption, any kind of like LP pairs, right? Like we've always stood by not breaking LPs. So it would have to be done in a way that the LPs would be replaced with like RXS pairs if the BUSD did fail, right? But you would still get the percentage of ownership of Ruin, right? Like that would never go away. What wouldn't really be affected is the liquidity, right? So our liquidity right now is in POSD. Obviously, we could panic and kind of like split things up, but then we run the risk of arbitrage issues and whatnot, and we're still stuck on BNB, right? So it doesn't make sense to panic, but we do obviously, we've put some thought into how we would react in that situation. It wouldn't be ideal, but we're also not the biggest projects in the world, right? So maybe we lose $60,000 of liquidity. Obviously, if we were in the millions, we would need to be a bit more concerned. But as it is right now, it wouldn't be the biggest thing in the world if it did happen. But obviously, hopefully it doesn't.
Yeah, I think there are ways, even if we end up having to go cross-chain, there are ways to potentially transfer that. There are existing bridges for BUSD, as long as it's not a hard cut and things pan out the way we anticipate them to plan out, which is, a slow burn down essentially until April when redemptions stop. That allows us to consider things like, a contract actually taking your LP, splitting it out, putting it through a bridge onto the other chain, remaking that LP and putting it back in, and you can actually replicate things identically almost on a new chain. So we've got all the things of the items, and as Binzy said, we can just remint those, carry on as we are, and replicate that. So there's no need to be concerned in terms of that vision. Those items that you've been working towards, that you've been taking with you and using so far on your journey through the Room metaverse, will be available still, even if it ends up being on a different chain. That's yours. The purpose of the blockchain is to retain it. We've got the record of it. So we'll be able to carry that forwards. Maybe that's even on our own chain in one day. Who knows? But there are certainly opportunities. I think the failure of Binance Smart Chain, the failure of BUSD, neither of those things will stop what we're doing or stop us from being able to do what we want to do and deliver that vision to you.
It would be pretty funny if we ended up on what was it? Was it Thor that had the rune ticker?
Oh yeah.
Yes, cool chain.
Did they have their own chain?
I think so, wasn't it? It was like Thor chain, right? I don't know. I'm not too familiar with
chain,
that. But yeah.
I think they rebranded again, didn't they, from Rune or something? I'm not sure. Or...
Why did they pick the name Rune?
Because it's Thor.
It's quite common, I think, isn't it?
I guess so, apparently. Okay, cool. So, I guess if you guys are ready, we can jump into our Evo games for the week.
Yep.
God bless Maiev is here today.
So I'll tell you what, actually. So ahead of last week's stream, for the tournament, so maybe 2 weeks ago, I updated my client. I managed to delete the old files sitting around that were stopping it from working, and I updated my client, and I now have spectate mode.
What?
Which is just, I have spectate mode. It's a blessing for the streams. So I'm very happy about that.
You also did not update your client.
No, so I updated it, but it never recognized that it was updated, or it was still retaining some old settings, I think, because of just hadn't overwritten the file or something like that. But I cleared some of the old folders out, and that has fixed the trick.
Yeah, I need to do some cleaning like that too. I believe I have like 10 Evo folders here in my PC.
Meanwhile, I'm over here. I have not updated my Evo in years, and it works fine for me. No problems here.
You should really update that, Panda.
What if it breaks? What if it stops working like at Disco's?
You are setting a bad example, Panda, okay?
Oh,
we need people to keep up to date.
Yeah. And if it breaks, you have the development team on your side to help you.
Okay, what about my excuses?
Like,
I want to
seriously.
be an impartial player so that I don't want the names. Is that a good enough of an excuse?
Nah.
Could we give you a toggle?
Not really. We want to see the names. We're the ones viewing it.
I guess so. But then when I kill Disco, I'll feel. Actually, then I guess I can intentionally avoid a Disco.
Well, but that's not fair either, is it?
I
you
guess
just
not,
need
but
to
I'll
hide
feel
the
bad
names
if.
just for Pandemonium.
Yeah, or maybe just give me a
Maybe
client that just hides the
Pandemonium as a
names.
mode doesn't have names.
Speaking of Pandemonium, I guess we can go ahead and switch around.
Yeah,
Maiev.
let's just finish the round first.
You want to wait 2
before
minutes?
we switch up.
Okay, I guess that's fine. Okay,
I
so
guess one thing that we had planned on doing this week, but I think is now, I was going to say looking like next week. It's definitely going to happen next week. Will be the voting for the Room Royale.
Right.
So we mentioned this briefly during last week's stream, but with the ability to open up free play again for all players, we will be looking at making the Room Royale free to play, so players without an NFT character, the aim is that they'll be able to join in too. So as a result of that, what we're doing is we're just having a think about our prize pool and the way that we allocate those prizes out. You'll be familiar. We kind of do a $25 and get smaller progressively as it goes down, with a $50 bonus to the first place. So at the minute, they get $75 out of that $100 prize pool. And we're just wondering, with new players coming in, and potentially some of them who haven't actually paid any money, do we want to just kind of spread that out a bit more? Do we want to, get 5 players in? Do we actually want to reduce the number of players we're playing? So we want to put that out to our DAO as a vote. What we'll probably do is kind of propose 3 or 4 different prize pool systems or prize allocation systems, and get you all to vote on that. We'll of course share that in our announcement channels when that goes live. Give you a week or 2 to vote, because this Room Way Out isn't until the end of April, so you'll have plenty of time to have your say, and then we'll look at bringing that in for the tournament as well.
also apparently.
Or also,
Okay, go ahead.
my so we're gonna need to actually advertise evo2.io, I think, at some point. Otherwise, nobody's gonna use it, right?
Yep.
All right, the round is over. Chaos Myth, of course, wins as always, and we can go ahead and start Pandemonium. Okay, guys. So apparently, 2-year anniversary is coming up. March 28th, right? That'll be in just about a week, 2 weeks. I think about 2 weeks. If you guys have any ideas in chat for what we should do, whether it be on the stream or in game, I guess let us know. We'll see if we can make it happen.
All right. Okay, so we have enough number of players, so I'd probably start Battle Royale in
Yeah, let's go.
10 seconds. So everything would start in 10 seconds.
You know what? That was actually pretty close to 10 seconds. I'm kind of impressed.
Oh Lord, I think we need.
At least I did not have to do the counting.
I mean, but
But
usually
yeah,
10 seconds for you would be like, maybe 50 seconds for us, but that was pretty close.
I think we'll need a damage tweak again.
Yeah,
Oh,
nobody
yeah.
is dying.
What was the damage that we? What was the number?
I think like 30 or 50 or
200?
something.
40.
Okay, 200.
Yeah, the last time we did 200, right?
If you want.
20,000.
1,000.
See, it just happens.
200
I don't
just
understand. Like, there's
Instant
just.
kill.
It's me down and out. In for another drink. Drown my sorrows.
Oh, we're actually 3 dragons now. Yeah.
Yeah.
definitely miss Eki.
I missed you. I,
I've only been gone for a week.
yeah, but I think I was the only dragon that was there last week. And I had to do the mod panel stuff. Oh man. Oh man. Oh, there we go. Got Sassy Boy.
What
Is
did
this
I
Chaos
do
Myth?
last week?
Is it Chaos Myth? Of course it's Chaos Myth. Alright, Chaos Myth, our first round winner. He really has just mastered the art of avoiding Panda. Or I guess pandas.
Yeah, last week I attended my nephew's wedding. And we stayed there. It's my mom's hometown overnight, and then we went to the beach in the morning. Stayed there until the afternoon. We, we were on a raft,
A what?
like a raft.
A raft?
So so it's bamboo. It's a raft made of bamboo, and then there's like a boat that pulls it to the sandbar area. It's pretty nice. It's pretty
Sounds
cool.
fun.
I would say it sounds fun, but that is not my ideal, I guess, experience. I think whenever you're ready to start, Maiev.
Right, so
Alright, there we
disabled
go.
cut party starting. Try to kill Chaos Smith. It's been winning a lot. There you go. We have to do it.
Damn. Maiev
Had to do it.
intentionally
Had to do it,
targeting
Joe.
him. Ooh.
Well, he was the closest one to me and Eki, so
Yeah, because he's avoiding me. He always knows where I am. I can never get close to him at all.
I'm stuck.
Oh.
There's only one alive.
Sassy boy.
There's that one dragon alive, yeah. He was stuck the entire time, but I went after the other guy instead. Okay, Sassy Boy, our second winner.
It's really fast. Well, first time I see that name. I am Madeira 74.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that name either, so maybe a new
It's
player or
Madeira.
just somebody on a different account.
Madeira 74. Yep. So we'll start the round again.
Wait, how did Disco
Ending menu.
how did Disco start
Ah.
before God mode was turned off?
I
How did
got
that
stuck in
happen?
the wall, so I thought I'd change server and try and get back in before you started. It
Oh,
was too slow.
Yeah, that was like the worst timing. You actually you starved right before God mode got taken off.
you could have just mentioned that,
Poor Disco.
so I could have delayed it. The tiny dragon. So how many? There's 2 alive. They're stuck on the
2
wall.
dragons left.
Natron is
And
dead.
I'm assuming it's probably Chaos Myth because I don't see him.
It was indeed.
How the
It was
fuck?
quite sneaky.
How?
He was quite
I was like
sneaky. He was
literally
hiding in the
flying
bottom
around
left
looking
corner.
for him.
Yeah,
He
like
was hiding in the
I
bottom
thought he
left
was
corner.
already dead.
he's actually
Yeah,
like
that was quite sneaky.
I don't know what he's doing, but he's actually so good at avoiding the pandas. Like he just stays off of my screen, so I don't see him.
He's getting you guys stuck in the islands. I'm watching on evo2.io. It's actually really easy to spectate there.
You guys should try.
Shout out evo2.io boys. Alright, well, I guess that round will be Chaos Smith again.
All right. So let's just wait.
It's kind of crazy
Sorry, guys,
looking at
for yawning.
looking at futures right now. It seems like we basically recovered all the way from before the SVB crash was announced.
Fourth round
So-
pandemonium starting.
Maybe there was some news or something regarding the bank, but
Well, I think the assurances from the Fed, the FDIC, around user deposits being protected is probably calmed
Are the
some fears.
consumers protected
Somehow
if the
it's
bank
just
defaults? Is
It's
there like an
only-
insurance?
yeah, but I think it's only
So
250K.
normally- Yeah, they're normally
much?
insured only up
Oh
to
my
a certain
gosh.
amount, so $250,000 in the
Yeah.
US. In the UK,
Ooh, I'm
it's
gonna
Yeah,
kill.
that's
Oh my
much.
god,
£80,000 per
I'm
bank.
How much is it in the UK?
80,000
That's
per
pretty
account.
big.
So,
Bruh.
yeah, so I mean, what you can do if you've got more money than that to keep aside, you can then split that across multiple banks. So
Yeah.
that's what some people do. They'll put $250,000 in one, 250,000 in another.
yeah.
You know what?
It'd be
In
nice
here,
to have
it's
that kind of
just
money to
like-
put aside, but there we go.
Oh my god, here he is in
It's-
the top corner. But I think
it's
the
just like 10k USD in here for the bank insurance, and it's a pretty small amount.
well, I think the thing is,
My God.
I think a lot of startups or a lot of companies had money in the bank, so if they lose that money, it'll be, I don't know, maybe more of a problem. Not sure, but maybe.
Well,
yeah.
and this is it, yeah.
I know Roku. I saw
So
Roku.
can they pay
I've been
bills and
seeing-
so forth?
It's Chaos Smith
new-
again.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd have a quick look at stable dollar prices, just where you mentioned that.
Do you think
we're seeing some
Binance will
recovery.
set up a bank of their own?
Binance Bank.
I've heard of that, yeah. In the collapse of Silvergate, they're looking to do that, as are some others. FTX were looking to do that as well. So, of course, there's a lot of
That's
similarities
scary,
between Binance
it's
playbook
FTX,
and
right?
FTX playbooks, yeah.
I
which is
mean, honestly, if they were,
unfortunate,
I mean,
but,
FTX was kind of like they were functioning as a bank, right? I don't know. They wanted to use.
Well,
Can you have our crypto?
they were in the sense that they were doing fractional reserves,
Yeah.
but without any of the controls that a bank would have in place in terms of responsible lending and stuff like that.
Are crypto
BUSD is
banks the
actually
same?
still currently trading just over $1, so is Tether. So it's true USD. Pax dollars kind of regained peg again. USDC, 96 cents, just under 97. So
They
still
depegged
not
again?
fully
Wow.
recovered. DAI also was the other big one to take a hit from this, because most of its collateral is USDC, as well as GUSD, which is Gemini's US dollar. That also tumbled quite a bit, but has actually recovered slightly more. Still under peg though. So yeah, we're still not seeing a full flush out of all of the impact of contagion yet. I think tomorrow will be the big driver for some of the next moves in the market.
Has USDC, has it been depegged the entire time?
Yes, yeah, it has, yeah. I mean, it dropped down to about 88 cents at one point, or just under 8. Maybe
That's a
87
that's a
something.
new name. What is that? Wiffle Tree 51.
Oh my God.
That's a new name.
He just has
What?
too much HP.
I've
He
not.
can get away and hide in the islands. I can fly directly.
Didn't we just
over
kill Chaos Smith, or was it another dragon that we killed?
No, it was another one.
I thought we killed him.
So the new names
Is this Chaos
could
Smith?
be
You can literally
players
just
logging
fly
on
Is that
through.
Chaos Smith? No, that's Sassy Boy.
Oh, for God's
The
sake.
new names
Humans
Panda could be
again, yeah.
players logging on through evo2.io.
Yeah, I guess so.
So when you do that, it assigns you a wallet address in the background, gives you a random username.
All right.
What that also means is that if you were to then go and create an account from that, you'll be able to kind of collect your.
That's
your
already
Bitcoin
5
and then
rounds.
enjoy the
I'll
session.
be resetting the server.
Okay, cool. So Chaos Myth again taking 4 out of the 5 rounds. Basically, that's basically status quo at this point. Chaos Myth, yeah, just a master at hiding from pandas.
Well,
Binzy, if I restart the server, will the damage go back to default?
I think so.
Well, Probably. This is something that I need to put into the new game source now. So like in the new panel, I'm gonna pull the variables so you can see what they all are.
Nice. I mean, I definitely, after I restarted the server last week, I didn't change the damage back, so unless people if people haven't been insta killing people, then yeah, it's probably fine. Okay, let's see. I guess now is the part of the stream where we gotta choose what are we crafting today. Any suggestions, guys? If nobody in Twitch chat says anything, then it'll default to Maiev choosing, as always.
Windfall. My favorite word. Or have we crafted
Sassy
too many
says
windfalls?
Soul Cord. I think Soul Cord is one that we definitely want to keep aside as kind of special events. I think probably, as Panda mentioned, 2-year stream coming up, we'll probably raffle off some Soul Cord during that one, just to celebrate. But the mint count's still really low on that, so we're trying to avoid, I guess, being the sole owners of all of the supply of that item, because of course everything that we don't give away then sits in the giveaway channel wallet for future giveaways potentially.
Yeah, I still prefer Windfall. Why would you want Soul Cord when you could get 30%, like 60% magic find if you have 2 Windfalls equipped?
Maybe he doesn't want to find magic.
Yeah, it's
Everyone
always a
wants
magic find
magic.
meta if you're starting up in a new MMORPG.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Are you calling it here, Maiev? Is that gonna be the meta? Magic find?
Well, in Diablo, it is like get the most magic find so you could.
Binzy's alluded to magic find being quite key, I think, since pretty much day one.
That's a nice hoodie, by the way.
We certainly like to go after.
It's a nice hoodie, Maiev.
Disco or mine.
Well, Disco wears the same hoodie every time, so.
Yeah,
Chaos Smith does say Hellfire, so
Master
I guess
Roshi.
we can go with Hellfire, sure. I think it's been a bit since we crafted Hellfire. We'll have to see what runes we need, if any.
Hellfire is the armor, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Dragon armor. Dragon cuirass.
What is happening? That I've never.
You right there, Panda?
I don't know. MetaMask wanted me to switch networks. Well, hopefully that's not a problem. Must be a new MetaMask update.
That's the one thing that you do
Yeah,
update,
that
is
happened
it?
to me too.
It happens. Yeah, same to me. No, alarm. At least you didn't get to hear the alarm that stream.
That alarm. Oh my god. You know, if I ever really need to wake up for something, I will use that alarm.
You should.
If I ever.
It's the only alarm that works for me. If I use like a lullaby tone for an alarm, I would just fall asleep deeper.
Well. Ah, there we go. Okay, now everything showed up. Let's see. Foul. Good on foul. Mal. Good on Mal. Good on that. Okay, we're good on everything. Okay, nice. Okay. Go ahead and do the stream and let's give it away then.
Where's the link?
Be posted in a moment. Alright, there you go. So did you guys get daylight savings time, or is it just like an American thing?
We have
It's an
daylight
American
savings time.
Did your time just change like today?
No. I hope
America.
not.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how it changes in like different different countries do it at different times,
Is
right?
it? Is it now
Yeah, they do.
DST in the US?
It's what? It's what?
Is it? It's
Oh, daylight savings time.
yeah.
Yeah, we lost
it?
an hour. We lost an hour last night, or yeah,
Last night.
yeah, at midnight.
Yeah, that's something I need to.
26th.
That's so,
It's,
like it's so weird how they do it at different times.
Anniversary weekend.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I do think I remember that. It was the first stream. And I was like, oh, 10:30's all right. Yeah, I can agree to do that every week. And then I was like, oh, actually, it's going to be 11:30 when we start.
Yeah, don't miss the stream.
I need to remind myself. PST.
Oh, I gotta turn on the little thing. 350 tickets entered in so far. 370 now.
I'm going to jump in.
420.
Do like a bit of 420.
All right, we have what, 7 people in right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we are picking 5 winners. So, yeah, I guess
That was
if
interesting. So, USDC, almost back to peg, just sitting over just over 99 cents at the moment. So,
Yes.
yeah, it certainly does look like the news coming from the FDIC is favourable for markets.
Oh, what was the news?
Well, I think just the guarantees of deposits, it looks like that's kind of filtering through into market action now.
PTC is
Just, I would assume
22K.
on the basis that...
Wait, like all
USDC
deposits or just the
back to
250k?
No, they said they were guaranteeing all deposits at the bank.
Oh, well then that's not a problem, right? Then that means everything's fine.
Exactly. So the normal limit isn't that. The problem might still happen, from the subsequent panic in other people at other banks worrying and then moving their money out, or also depending on the potential delays. So although they said they'll guarantee them, how quickly will the Fed get that money out, or the FDIC get the money out to the banks to then distribute to depositors so they can make payroll and so forth.
Right.
That's going to be the where we might potentially see some impact. So I think it's looking positive that they might be able to contain it. Again, it could be at the risk of actually knocking confidence in the wider economy, depending on what actions and measures they take. So everyone will be kind of watching quite closely globally as to what their next steps are. I think people have been hoping that they would have had a meeting on Sunday about it. They're actually waiting until Monday to do that, which I think was some frustrating for some because they felt that faster action was needed. But then through subsequent announcements, they seem to be doing other things in the meantime.
Well, I guess that's the advantage of a bank. How nice would it have been if the government just stepped in and be like, "Hey, FTX will we'll just give you all the crypto."
Well, unfortunately,
it worked that way.
It seems to be a recurring theme of privatizing the profits and socializing the losses, which is essentially what they would be doing if they allow them to buy back the treasury bills at face value. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to be looking to close the giveaway. We got 8 people in, 635 tickets. Sassy Boy did look like he added quite a bit more to his entry. Let's see what we got. Oh look, he's the first winner. Good choice.
It must have been those last 5 tickets that got him.
Yay,
Oh, looky. Is that Chaos Myth again?
Lucky. Sassy Boy, Maiev, Chaos Myth, Disco, and Natron the Ninth. Okay, cool. Well, in 1 second to set up the wheel. Should be ready in just a moment. Alright, good luck, boys.
How many entries did Chaos have on the board this time? Was it 5?
5 in total, 4 from
Oh, we can-
Evo and 1 from the tickets.
Natron the Ninth.
We got 14 people watching. Twitch chat, if any of you are not currently already Evo players, probably not very likely, but just in case, go to evo2.io. I think I'll put that in the YouTube title as well.
So what do they need to do when they hop into evo.io? They just have to click play now.
Yeah, I think you just hop right in, right? You don't need a wallet or anything.
It auto-loads and assigns you a wallet address. And there will be an option to claim that wallet address for an account so you can keep your earnings. You'll still need a character in order to withdraw them.
Oh, so what you're saying is they'll actually get the Zod. They just can't like claim it until they actually get a character, right?
Yeah, that's right. That'll be the way it works.
Gotcha.
Not currently.
Looky, we have
But
both Maiev and Disco still in.
Because I haven't looked at the wheel yet and jinxed myself out. Is this the one? Not
It
quite.
could be. Disco, Maiev, and Chaos Myth, the top 3.
evo2.io.
I'm surprised Chaos has only got one left so far.
Ooh.
Don't tell me its name. Oh,
Coin flip time.
Oh. So close. So close. So despite all of the odds,
Oh wow.
wow.
despite all of the odds, somehow Discomonk made it to the very top.
I say so. They don't even have to click play now. You just have to go to evo.io and wait for it to load.
Really?
And
You don't
it'll
even
load up.
you don't even have to press play
It'll give
now?
you-
Oh my god.
Straight to the site, it will load up, will throw you into a game with a wallet address assigned, a username assigned. And then if you want to go ahead and retain those rewards that you earn in that session and create your account, you can do that.
Damn, that's efficiency.
So then the idea is to try and tie that in with some different account creation methods as well, so that actually, at the moment, if you then refresh your page, it will assign you a new, different wallet address. But we'll try and get some other ways of kind of getting more static logins, whether that's through the use of socials, whether it's something like an email, I don't know what happens at the moment, Binzy, if you go on to Evo2.io with a wallet and connect, but without a character, whether or not it retains or just lets you use your own wallet on that OX address, or still assigns you a random one.
It will let you do that, but I think I was just prototyping it. So if you wanted to do that, I think you can go to ruinedevolution.com or just ruin.game for now.
I just think it's great how easy it is to get into the game. It's yeah, definitely something that I would play if I was like in school and I just had like a few minutes to spare in class.
And that's what we're hoping, is that someone's going to have an hour spare towards the end of March, and a handful of people to be able to go onto the website, take part in the Room Royale, especially with, you know, not a massive prize pool, but certainly significant enough for an hour's worth of gameplay, just to come and hang out with us, have some fun, play some games, maybe walk away with a cash prize. Hopefully we'll be able to attract a few more players. And of course, what that means is for all of our players with characters, as you've seen during the Room Royale, with the servers slightly busier, that Zod reward for each round tends to go up. So there's always a benefit, you know, still to having that character and participating as well, over not having a character and taking part.
All right, unfortunately, only some golds today. Couple 80% and then some 70s. So not the greatest crafts, but
I never expect anything better for Hellfire. That was the bane of my life.
Congratulations, Disco. At least you'll get in it. Do you not have a better one than an 85%?
I eventually did I get it? I can't remember if I might have even bought my epic. Don't think I managed to craft it. I got so frustrated that bankrupted me. Hellfire did. More so than any other item. I thought Elder was bad. Hellfire was just the worst. It lived up to its name. Certainly in terms of its effect on my bank balance.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, not the best crafts, but still congratulations to all the winners. Thanks everybody for playing and listening, and thank you, Disco, for giving us all the news. I think with that we can wrap up for the day, and yeah, we'll see you guys all next week. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks
Night, everyone.
Joining off.
Thank you.
Bye bye.